Hello, my name is Mohammed Sarwar Chishti Saqibi, and welcome to our CWTC Community Podcast in our Health Awareness and Wellbeing segment to connect and support our diverse communities. We are discussing basic diabetes awareness today, and as many people know, that diabetes can lead to serious complications and premature death. But people with diabetes can take steps to control the disease and lower the risk of complication. To help us understand, we welcome our special guest at our CWTC studio, Barry Cassidy, who has been delivering some sessions here and is well known for providing information on diabetes, its symptoms, and how you can manage the condition. Barry, welcome.
Thank you very much, and assalamu alaikum.
Lovely start and a cooler day.
Yes.
Barry, we normally ask our guests to tell us about themselves and career. Please give us some information about yourself.
Okay, I'm 71 years old. I have type 2 diabetes. By profession, I'm an energy manager and asbestos consultant. And I contracted diabetes in 1998. I've been a student of it ever since and learning what it was all about. And now I pass that information on to other people.
So you're an expert by experience?
I would say so, yes.
Lovely. Okay. Tell us about diabetes. How would you define it?
Well, diabetes is the body's inability to handle sugars. And if you like, sugars in the body, I don't mean just sugar that you put in your tea.
Yeah.
Carbohydrates that come in starch, all kinds of other things. But if you like, those carbohydrates are fuel for the body, like the fuel in a car.
Yes.
And it's learning how your body handles those sugars. And if you have diabetes, it's not very good at handling them properly.
So basically, how would people know that they are at a risk of diabetes?
Well, highest risk of diabetes amongst people from Afro-Caribbean communities, South Asian communities, and also people who have a lot of weight on them, people who have stress in their lives, people who eat at irregular intervals, people who have a poor diet. It can affect a lot of people. Very common these days.
And there are different types of diabetes as well, and commonly what you hear, type 1 and type 2. Can you give us a bit more details about it?
Yeah, well, what we said about the body's inability to handle sugars, the sugars that your body produces in food and drink is put into the place in the body by a hormone called insulin. And in type 1 diabetes, people don't have any insulin, so need to have it introduced into the bodies. Type 2, like I have, my body has some insulin, but it doesn't use it properly. So it needs help.
So how would you control it or prevent it happening?
The most important thing is, and I was on a study for the National Institute of Clinical Excellence for 3 years, is that very largely weight is the key, and that people carrying too much weight are at greater risk of people that aren't. That's not to say thin people aren't at risk, but it's more likely to be risk if you are overweight.
And there are so many factors that affect people gaining weight.
Yes.
Yeah. And so we know that by losing the weight is very important for people at risk of diabetes. So how would you control or really work on your weight loss?
As an engineer, my theory is measure to manage. First of all, what do you weigh? And then making a recording of what you eat. And be honest with yourself.
Make a plan.
Make a plan of what you eat. And right, okay, and is there a way you can affect that? Little bit at a time, little differences, little changes can bring massive benefits. Don't expect to lose, a stone a week. If you're losing a stone a week, there's something wrong with you somewhere. It's not diabetes. So it's about taking a reasoned, sensible approach in looking after yourself. Because we've been provided with a wonderful machine called the body. It needs to be looked after. You'd look after your car. Why would you not look after your own body?
Absolutely. And I don't think we tend to do that.
No, we don't.
We keep talking about prevention, but you need to prevent lots of things going into your body.
Absolutely that.
And of course, the GP will give you a more specialized information. And so people who then end up with diabetes, they use lots of injections, different types of injections. Can you explain what they are?
Well, yeah, I am type 2 diabetes, so I don't use injections, I use tablets. But people on type 1 diabetes need to introduce insulin into the body in a measured dose at particular intervals compared to what they've been eating. Some people use an insulin pump. Usually children are fitted with a pump that monitors the blood sugar and then says, right, I need to put some insulin in, so they don't actually have to physically get the kit out and measure it. It's done automatically. And some people take a finger prick test. Some people have an implant in their arm, which they put a mobile phone or a device that reads the blood sugar levels.
Yes.
Different ways of doing it.
Motivation is very important, isn't it?
It's absolutely the key to things. It's do you want to have a good life? Do you want to have a fit life? Do you want to be there for your children? Do you want to be there to be able to play football with the children and not sit on the sidelines? The idea is the motivation is life. Yes. You want to
be positive.
You have to be positive. Be the best person you can be, not only for yourself but your relatives, your children.
You only get one life.
You certainly do.
Look after it.
That's it. And it's not. This is not a practice run. This is it.
Yeah, and there are so many ways of motivating yourself.
Yeah.
You're just being positive. Get up in the morning, and you want to do something.
Yeah. Somebody said to me, "Why are you so cheerful in first thing in the morning?" Because I've woken up. The sun's
it's a blessing.
There. Get on with it.
It's a blessing that you're woken up.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. So in terms of the systems that, or the access to services available in Oldham, which services would you can you recommend?
Well, yeah, generally by referral from your own GP will
yeah.
be into the community diabetes services or the Royal Oldham Hospital or your own GP services. But we also offer in the Oldham Diabetes Voluntary Support Group a meeting that we held the first Tuesday in every month at Barker Street Community Centre. And that is a support group which I run along with other volunteers, where people of like mind who've got diabetes can pass on their experiences, how they cope with it, sometimes how they don't cope with it well. And that's open to all. That's an open invitation to that.
Yeah, and when it says open to all, I see many services, meet up with many services and the staff, and they do have bilingual service, bilingual staff, to be able to support people who can't speak English.
We have 2 members from the South Asian community who speak various languages.
Excellent.
Unfortunately, none of which I am well versed in.
Well, sport is there, isn't it?
Exactly.
You just have to reach out, isn't it? So how about family and friends supporting each other?
That's exactly what we do, because as it's fairly obvious, diabetes affects not only the person that's got it, but also the relatives, the friends. And it may be that if you're making a meal and you want to make sure that it's suitable for somebody with diabetes, it's suitable for everybody else as well.
Yes. In terms of the food as well, we were talking about having a food plan, particularly for the Asian community or the African Caribbean community you mentioned. What are you able to recommend as a plan? I know it's got to be very much person-centered, but generally, what is the best things they can do?
Eat the widest possible range of food that you can. Natural is best. Frozen if you need to. But and I don't want to offend people, but sometimes takeaways are rather heavily laced with sugar and salt. The best food you can cook is the one that's cooked at home. Do it like your mother used to do it.
Absolutely. But I think there's a point for takeaways, as you mentioned.
Oh, there is, yeah.
To have a healthier plan and to reduce some of these intakes as possible. I think it'll work better for the businesses, and we'll have a better, healthier society.
Yeah, I recall that there was a group that I went to see where they were making samosas. And that my experience of samosas, I'd eaten one once, and that a kind of a pint of ghee shot past me when I bit into it. Yeah. Somebody said, no, we actually bake them now. Right. We don't put ghee in them. So it's a healthier alternative. And it's actually cheaper to produce. Better for you.
Changing for the better, absolutely. Yeah. So it's always important that you approach your GP for any conditions that you have. Absolutely. They are the best people to advise you. As a community organisations, what can we do? What can the employees do to help people as a wider society, really, to learn more about health awareness, really.
I think the idea is that if you were an employer, looking after your staff better, you'll find that if you look after your staff, because that's your best asset. You might have spent a fortune on machinery and materials, but the biggest asset you've got is the people that are making those things work.
Yes.
And if you look after them, you'd maintain a machine.
Yeah.
Why would you not maintain the staff?
Yeah.
Maintain and motivate. And it's a two-way street. I've been involved in situations where employers have started to take more notice of the staff.
Excellent.
They get more out of it. The staff get more out of it. It's a more productive.
It's a win-win situation. Really.
Absolutely. Nobody can lose.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Barry, for coming into the studio. You've always been there for us and for many organizations that you're helping. And hope we are able to do more sessions with you in more detail about looking at plans, how you can improve your better lifestyle through eating and exercise.
Yeah. And as I know from my experience with you is there are lots of organisations in this town who are similarly placed. Yes. The town has got a fantastic wealth of people who are involved either professionally or volunteers to all kinds of things, mental health, physical health, the full gamut of things to help the community.
Lovely.
Us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Barry. You're always a good motivator. And thank you for listening and watching as well. And hope you've learned something from this session today. I know I have. And from time to time, we'll be bringing you different topics. So please join us. Take care of yourselves and everybody around you.